Hello everyone and welcome once again to the Global Business Update with TA. Singapore is aiming to be a giant in the world of online gaming. Now, Southeast Asia is said to be growing at an annual rate of more than 20%, with revenues expected to be hitting around the $70 million mark by about 2024. And amidst all these developments, remember, China is also cracking down on lots of online and tech platforms. So with all these developments, Singapore is definitely having its eyes set on the right segment there, and they even hosted some of the global level very successful gaming events such as the Free Fire World Series that had more than 5.4 million members viewing it, and definitely they are ready to exploit the wave of online gaming. In other news, Standard Chartered and Deutsche Bank are among some of the banks being sued by the family members of those who lost their lives in the war against terror in the USA. Now, various family members of the war heroes have come forward and filed action against these banks for failing to take necessary action to prevent or to stop various terrorism-related parties carrying out transactions using those banks. Looks like the era of banks being further held accountable for prevention of money laundering and financing terrorism is definitely going to create some tough circumstances for the global banking system. 16,000 tons of pineapple has been imported by Japan from Taiwan, making the country the biggest importer of pineapples from Taiwan. And as Beijing put a ban towards importing pineapple from Taiwan in order to ramp up the political pressure on the Taiwan president, looks like various other countries are coming to Taiwan's support, and definitely the pineapple has now become an unlikely symbol of resistance against Chinese pressure. Beijing has some decisions to be made, and surprisingly, pineapples are one of them. Do you think that the inflation levels are too high on Earth? Well, up there in space, it's not getting any cheaper. A ticket to space, a return ticket of course, was initially priced at about $250,000, but now after a successful test flight by Virgin Galactic, they have ramped up the prices to $450,000 for that 1 hour orbital trip. Looks like inflation is not just limited to Earth, but you never know with so many other companies such as Elon Musk's company SpaceX and even the company of Amazon founder looking into test flights and about to launch their own successful space tourism ventures. Perhaps the prices could come down in the future. Zoom was one of the big winners of the pandemic, but a recent $85 million lawsuit just goes on to show that bigger the tech gets, bigger the responsibility. For failing to protect the privacy of the users and sharing some of the user data with Facebook and many other accusations, they have been ordered this lawsuit, which they have complied with. News from Africa, well, we have two extreme news from two different nations. While Zambia is grappled with a $13 billion debt, especially due to some of the massive investments into roads and various other infrastructure, and they have in fact had to default on their payments, putting them on the blacklist for many lenders and investors. On another note, we see Sudan actually no longer being the black sheep in among the African nations for financial markets. They are being allowed to be included in most of the financial markets globally, and a sign of this is Visa re-entering the country as they clean up their house and get their financial systems in order. And on a final note, well, Vodafone Idea is definitely in trouble with more than 1.8 trillion Indian rupees of debt, and whether the lenders or investors will actually save them this time is a big question. And this goes on to show, despite the growth and despite the potential, how the massive, almost perfect competition among telecommunications giants and startups in India is actually creating razor-thin margins for those companies. And unless you are in a position to actually add more value and come up with further innovations, and for value-added services of course, you will be definitely struggling. And the Vodafone Idea, at one time a darling of the telecommunications market of India, and in fact a success story, how it has come to struggle with this much of debt, and despite the pandemic creating so much of potential for the telecommunications sector, should actually be taken seriously by all the other players in the region. That's it for this week, and no matter what business you may be in, have a profitable week ahead and stay safe.